Picture a lone figure standing on the dusty plains of the American West, his long bending shade in the hot sun. This is Madsen, the tallest cowboy to ever ride the range. Standing over 2 meters and 10 centimeters tall, Madsen's height was more than just a number. All who saw him were amazed and drew their attention to him. Think of the Wild West, with its rugged landscapes and even more rugged characters. Among them, Madsen was a giant, not just in size. His towering presence made him a sight to see at parades and special events, where he was always the center of attention. Wherever he went, his characteristic cowboy hat on top of his head, accentuating his extraordinary height and making him an unforgettable figure. Imagine the excitement of seeing Madsen appear at a local fair or rodeo. Crowds would gather eyes wide just to catch a glimpse of the man who seemed to touch the sky. His presence wasn't just about his physical size, it was about what he represented. Madsen embodied the larger-than-life persona of the cowboy, a symbol of the boundless frontier and the limitless possibilities it held. But what about the man behind the myth? Beyond his height, Madsen was a skilled cowboy, participating in roping, riding, and all manner of frontier activities. His fame was not just built not because of his size, but because of how skilled he was and how much he was a part of the cowboy life. Madsen's story is a reminder of the extraordinary people who became legends in their own way. His height made him stand out, but it was his larger-than-life spirit that made him a true giant of the Wild West. In every parade he led and every event he graced, Madsen left a mark that can't be erased, a historic memory that still stands in American history. But that was not all. In the heart of the Arizona desert, another legend was taking shape, defying conventions and igniting imaginations. As you drive along the dusty road in the Arizona desert, you can hear the sound of a stagecoach. Within the dry landscape, a figure in men's clothes appears, its face set with purpose. This is Hart, a notorious outlaw whose daring wagon heist was one of the last known thefts in the Wild West. Hart's daring act was more than just a robbery. It was a spectacle disguised as a man. Everyone was shocked by how brave and smart she was when she pulled out her gun and took control. The heist got a lot of attention from the media right away, making news and keeping people interested. Here was a woman going against societal norms, taking on the law in a world dominated by men. Think of the shock waves that must have gone through the towns and cities. A woman not just living outside the law but excelling at it captured the fascination and ire of many. After her capture, Hart became a sensation. Her gender and unusual way of life made her even more notorious, making her a figure of mystery. Imagine the courtroom during Hart's trial, filled with spectators excited to catch a glimpse of the infamous female outlaw. Her determined character came through, and the way she refused to follow social norms was both shocking and inspiring. Some people respected her bravery and refusal to give in to a society that tried to control her, even though she did criminal things. Hart's story shows how complicated and sometimes contradictory frontier justice can be. Even though what she did was against the law, it showed how independent and strong she was. She is still an interesting part of the history of women who were criminals in the Wild West. She is a sign of bravery and the never-ending search for freedom. But Hart's story of rebellion and intrigue was just the beginning. Think of the steady clatter of horses, the crackle of gunshots, and the clear, sharp cry of the American frontier. William Frederick Cody, better known as Buffalo Bill, stands in the middle of this chaos. Cody was a famous figure whose life and stories were as big as the places he traveled. A superb mix of fact and fiction, he was more than just a man. He was a writer and an entertainer who made the Wild West famous. In the last few years of the 1800s, Buffalo Bill created a show called Buffalo Bill's Wild West that would amaze people all over the world. This wasn't just any show. It was a real-life look at life on the frontier. Reenactments of great fights were so real that they stopped people in their tracks. Stagecoach robberies were both exciting and dangerous, and cowboy shows turned regular men into mythical heroes. Native Americans, including well-known and respected chiefs, joined the group and performed their rich traditions and customs with a level of respect that made people want to listen. People couldn't help but be drawn to Buffalo Bill's Wild West. The show became famous and loved as it traveled across the United States. But it was the events in other countries that really made it famous. In 1887, the show drew over 2 million people, including members of the British royal family. Picture the streets of London at that time. What did they see in those acts that made them so interested? It could have been the raw energy, the sincerity, or just the sight of it all. A deep link to a strange and interesting world. Buffalo Bill's Wild West had an effect that went beyond being fun. It changed how people around the world saw the American country and created a shared culture story. The audience will always remember the show's exciting horse races, thrilling gun shootouts, and big parades. Always a great speaker, Buffalo Bill knew how to make a story that was just right between fact and fiction. Many people around the world got to see the wild, undeveloped American West through his show. So don't just think of Buffalo Bill as a historical person. Picture him as the director of a big, crazy orchestra. It was his Wild West show that set a tone that was heard all over the world and will never be forgotten. What about the stories about the Wild West that still make us want to read them? There is a lot they owe to the man who brought the frontier to life on the world stage and let everyone join in the exciting story of the American West. If you enjoyed this wild ride through history, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more incredible tales. Our camera roll has way more photos of the Wild West, so we capture your presence in the next one.